You've also done debates about whether Islam is good for society, and in particular, I've seen you're one of the only ones I've seen that have debated the issue of child marriage.
Oh yeah,
like how did you want to get into that hornet's nest?
I didn't. So I saw the whole backstory. I was at a DebateCon event, and David Wood got up there to debate some guy named Kenny, who's a Muslim, on Age of Aisha, and I was sitting next to an atheist. Holy Kool-Aid.
And let's stop. I want to hear about that because I've interacted with him before. Was it Thomas, right? Thomas Westbrook. Yeah. For those who don't know, Aisha was the underage wife of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
They were wed, was she like 6?
When she was 6, and they consummated the marriage when she was 9.
Right. So wed at 6, consummated at 9. Just to back so people who are listening know who Aisha is.
Yeah.
So you're at the conference sitting next to Holy Kool-Aid. They're doing this debate on Aisha.
Yeah. And him and I are just like bonding over this, I guess would be the best word to use. Like, we're just like, we cannot believe what we're hearing.
Oh, and for our listeners who don't know, once again, I love when apologists talk shop because we're all like, oh, it's Holy Kool-Aid. And people are like, what? Where's Kool-Aid? The Kool-Aid man was there? He just burst through the brick wall and he was there. Yeah. Holy Kool-Aid, Thomas Westbrook, is kind of a new part of the brand of the new atheist YouTubers. He's been around for a while. One of the first videos I did on my channel was him and Bible contradictions. So you're there, you're bonding with this atheist critical YouTuber over look at what Islam is doing.
Yeah, and like Kenny's up there going like, hey, she may not have been 9. She could have been 12. And we're like, oh my gosh. So after that, I made a couple Twitter posts about how horrible Islam was. And like, I hinted that maybe I'll attack it more, but then I forgot.
Yeah.
But then about 6 months later, some Muslim apologist named Daniel Akikachu posted on his YouTube, I challenge you to debate me on if child marriage should happen today.
Oh boy.
Now at the time, my daughter was like, yeah.
Okay. You want to debate that.
At the time, my daughter was like,
because it's not just the Quran, it's rampant in the Muslim world because of Muhammad's example.
Yeah. So I read that post and my daughter was like 6 or 7 at the time. And like a primal like instinct like awoke in me. And I'm like, it's game time. And I read so much on child marriage. I read like the history of it all, studies on all the harm it causes, and went into the debate. And I got him to admit in the debate that in Islam, it'd be permissible to sleep with an 11-month-old if she's married off by her parents. Yeah. And he like it just exposed how horrible this religion is. Because
his idea of when is someone at the age of marriage. So his idea of the age of marriage is just strictly biological development. Yeah. And you brought forward a great counter reply to that being precocious puberty. Because he'll just say, well, look, like if your body is capable of bearing children and having children, why wouldn't God have made you ready for marriage? And that happens for 11, 12-year-old people. But there are cases, I think the world's youngest pregnancy, I think the girl was like 5. Wow. It was in Peru. Yeah, you can look, she gave birth to this child. And then I think as she was raised, she basically told that, it was like treated like a brother-sister relationship until the child was a lot older to find out. But there have been 5-year-olds that have given birth.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so for him, it's like, is that morally acceptable under Islam? And he had to say, yeah.
It's worse than that because he agreed that you could sleep with a girl before she got her first period. If she's just showing signs of puberty, it's okay. And so he had to admit that. And that's why he admitted that if a girl who has precocious puberty at 11 months, it'd be okay. And that's Islam. That's why we fight so hard against it.
Yeah. And that's what people need to see. And it makes me mad too. And I think this is something where we can get kind of more of the, not aggressive, but more of this might be a place, it's kind of a weird way to bring in the atheist YouTubers and the atheist critics. Because among the atheists, you can kind of separate them into the ones who are just kind of more centrists or libertarian minded and those who are just hardcore like liberals. Because the hardcore liberal atheists won't want to say anything negative about Islam because of their I say it's because of their racist anti-racism.
Yeah.
Because they basically put it this way. In the history of the world, it's the white people that make things bad and the brown people are perpetual victims. They say, oh, and Islam is a bunch of brown people. Therefore, Muslims couldn't be bad, which is, of course, racist because most Muslims do not live in the Middle East. And this is the idea that like you're going to equate this entire religion. It's a religion, not an ethnicity, which is already they're off on a racist foot here. It was kind of like when I saw, I guess the difference there would be like back in like 2014, there was a debate between on Real Time with Bill Maher with Sam Harris and Ben Affleck. And like Sam Harris would be an example of an atheist we could even ally with, who sees like, yeah, Islam is worse than Christianity and has really dangerous. We need to do something. And Harris was saying this on the show, and Ben Affleck was saying, you're an Islamophobe.
Yeah.
Like, how can you just say anything bad about Islam when it's the more well-read atheists who can say, no, there's a difference. Christianity and Islam are not the same thing, and Christianity certainly is not worse than Islam. You'd much rather, and that's where Dawkins, the others are seeing this now, they would rather live in a Christian society than a Muslim society.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I think, I'm sure it gives some of your thoughts on this. I think part of it, and this deals also with doing like apologetics with Islam, like Christianity, we had to fight tooth and nail the last 300 years against the Enlightenment, against, Hume, against, German higher form criticism. Christianity's had to be battle tested now. We can't just be like, well, the Bible says it, so it's true. We've had to do form criticism, historical criticism, in-depth philosophy. But I feel like in a lot of other places around the world, Islam is really unchanged in like 500 years.
Oh yeah. Well,
and it's incapable when it's met with these challenges, it just wants to like use, either legal or physical violence to just meet the challenges. Say, no, we're not going to deal with that.
I mean, that's kind of good news, though. Christianity is battle tested, and we're still here, and we're still the world's largest religion. Islam is now, for the first time, being battle tested, and it's collapsing.
Because it was sheltered. It's basically like the sheltered kid who never had to fight for himself.
Yeah,
it always had bigger governments and cultures fighting for it, and now it's like, oh, now you're here in the Western world, the marketplace of ideas and YouTube.
Yeah,
and you've got nothing.
Well, I mean, look what the numbers the poll numbers coming out of places like Tunisia, Iran, Turkey.
Yeah,
young people are leaving Islam. Some polls have shown 24 to 26% of youth are leaving Islam.
Yeah.
So, and the internet is killing it. It's not battle tested, and they have a lot of catching up to do, and they can't because there's so many problems in Islam. It's not gonna be a good future. It's not gonna be this giant religion they think it is. There's a lot of like smoke and mirrors being put up right now to try to pretend everything's okay. But the sheikhs and imams are sounding the alarms at their conferences, talking about 24% of Muslim youth leaving Islam, for example. So,
well, you even noticed when you went to Dearborn, it's different now than when you were there 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And do you think that might be a part of it?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I saw a lot of people walking around without hijabs. I mean, I saw a lot of Muslims in hijabs for sure, but I saw a lot of secular people. We met a lot of ex-Muslim Christians there. Some friends of mine went to a church. There was a lot of ex-Muslims there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like, sometimes I hope what's happening is what God is doing is he brought a bunch of Muslims into the world because he knows within a few generations they'll assimilate and deconvert, and that's going to help attack the religion. Because you have like Muslim apologists like Zakir Naik like sounding the alarm saying, hey, Muslims, we should be moving to Muslim dominant countries and preserve our culture. Like, why are you saying that?
They're in retreat.
Yeah, like why are you saying come home? What are you worried about all of a sudden? So it's kind of weird that they think they're going to take over, but now they're saying, guys, we should be in majority Muslim countries. Come on, what are you doing over there?
Because then you see when the questions are asked, they can't be answered.
Mm-hmm.
I want to circle back on the child marriage issue because I could see a Muslim apologist I think one of the classic moves they'll do to get around it, they'll say, well, you as a Christian, you believe like the Virgin Mary was a minor. Maybe you debate the age. How is that any different? So how do you respond to that?
Yeah,
objection?
so the Catholic Encyclopedia says that the sources on Mary's age are unreliable. Mm-hmm. So that's to be the Proto-Evangelium of James. And it says that she was married to Joseph when she was 12, but it wasn't like a normal marriage. He was given to this 90-year-old man in the story to protect her virginity.
Right.
And then she doesn't even get pregnant until the age of 16.
Right.
So they ignore that. But if you actually look at research and the time of Palestine at that time, so Amram Troper, Michael Satlow have pointed out that girls on average, Jewish girls on average in that time period, were marrying between their late teens to early 20s. Earliest is like mid-teens.
Yeah.
Compare that with the Jews in Babylon, they were marrying young teens.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, okay, then Mary was probably late teens to early 20s based on that research. The wider Roman Empire was doing similar practices. It's almost like people knew that you had to wait for the hips to fully widen before you should expect a girl to bear children. It's like they kind of figure that out on their own. And so what were people doing throughout history? They weren't marrying 9-year-olds or 12-year-olds. That was not normal.
Yeah.
The normal thing we see in research coming from people like Keith Hopkins, Brent Shaw, Kim Phillips, and the other authors I cited, people prior to the modern age, girls were marrying late teens to early 20s on average.
Right. So it's interesting that if you just look, you could say, look, you're trying to say that your cultural view that it's okay to marry even 9 and 10-year-olds, that was not the norm in the Christian world or even in the Jewish world. And it's funny, even if they try to go to the oldest sources to say that Mary was young, 11 or 12 years old, those same sources say that she was a pledged virgin. And this would be what now we as Catholics call a Josephite marriage. It's one to protect her perpetual virginity. So if you take the Catholic approach, there's no intercourse happening there. If you take more of a Protestant approach, you could say, oh, well, this is just, she could be late teens or early 20s. And so there's no problem there.
That's what the data shows. So I mean, like, yeah. Either approach is fine. It's not comparable to the horrible thing that Muhammad did to Aisha.
Yeah. That to be wed at 6 and then to consummate 9 or 10 years old. This is now rampant in the Muslim world. And it's not just that, though. The other thing that really shocked me that I wasn't aware of until a few months ago was looking at the rates of cousin marriage in the Muslim world. I don't know how much you've looked into that, but showing that is actually really unique. And even in countries, it's not just a regional issue, because you'll go to the region, you'll see that Christians engage in it far less than Muslims engage in marrying first cousins. Because they want to create these kind of tribal clan arrangements, even though that's highly dysfunctional.
Oh, thank God for the Catholic Church outlawing cousin marriage all those centuries ago.
Dude, rock on here. Well, I remember actually looking at the canonical impediments for cousin marriage. They used to be a lot stricter. So it used to be a lot stricter that you couldn't even marry like your second or third cousin. So like I remember looking at a graph created around, I think it was around the Lateran Council in 1215, showing what was appropriate, and it gets really like far out there. Yeah. I think where we're at now is basically the line is drawn at first cousin, and it could only be allowed if you got like a dispensation from a bishop. Yeah. But otherwise, it's drawn there. What in pedigree and genealogical terms you would call the fourth degree.
Yeah.
When it comes to separation. But yeah, and that's really interesting when you look at, if you did a comparison between medieval Catholicism, medieval Islam, medieval Catholicism is very strict about, no, we would like to keep sexual unions outside of close-knit families. And Islam, it's very, very different in creating these dynamics, leading to that dysfunction.
You know why that is?
Why is that?
Muhammad married one of his first cousins. Married two
but
of his
if
daughters,
Muhammad
the first
did
cousins.
If Muhammad did it, why can't I? I guess that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem.
If your prophet, the person who's your creed as a Muslim, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. That is your central thing you believe is this guy. Then you have to, because it's not even like with Mormons and Joseph Smith. Although they have the loophole of like continuing revelation. Once polygamy was outlawed, it turns out God doesn't want us to do it anymore.
Well, a lot of ancient cultures preferred cousin marriage because you kept wealth in the family.
Right.
So that just happened. Muhammad comes along. He's supposed to be the excellent moral example for humanity. Shocker, the Quran gets that wrong, obviously.
Yeah.
But so they see Muhammad doing it. He married some of his daughters off to first cousins. So, okay, it's good. Let's just keep doing it. Christianity comes on the scene and says, no, this is not good. We need to stop this.
Yeah.
Thank God for that. And what happens? Cousin marriage, long-term cousin marriage, like generations, is associated with lowering IQ. Studies have shown this. So over time, the Muslim community is collectively lowering their IQ. The Christian community is collectively raising the IQ. Gee, I wonder who's going to be leading human civilization in the coming generations.
Yeah, well, it's no surprise the institution of the university arises in medieval Europe. Things like advancing in medical knowledge, for example.
Yeah.
It's not like
on that point, something really interesting the Catholic Church did that's kind of cool. So
I always like to hear that.
Yeah. In the this comes from Toby Huff. He wrote a book called The Rise of Early Modern Science. He's trying to figure out why science didn't rise in the Islamic world when they had the golden age and came out of Europe.
Right.
He says it came from a lot of Christian doctrines and ideas. So one of them was getting rid of taboos. So pagans, Jews, Muslims stayed away from pig and dead bodies a lot.
Yeah.
Christians venerated the sites of tombs of saints. They were fine going near dead bodies and pig.
And we keep relics. We'll keep the parts of deceased saints in churches even.
So that removed the taboo to go near pig and dead body. And early Europeans started dissecting pigs. And they moved to dead bodies. So the Muslim world couldn't advance because they had these taboos, these restrictions on pig going near dead bodies. That was removed from Christianity. It allowed to make incredible medical advances in science that the Islamic world couldn't bypass. They got stuck because of their Islamic tradition. They made some, but they couldn't really progress. Christianity gave the medical community the playing field they needed to really make advances.
And we allowed film franchises like Air Bud to happen because we're not freaked out by dogs. We get to have our little canine friends, but that's the thing, right? Like, because even in like Michigan, there's still a taboo about dogs being unclean, and like people will bully you if you have a dog in a Muslim neighborhood, right?
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, dogs are man's best friend. What's the problem? Muhammad didn't like dogs.
He did. And it goes right back to that. The surgery thing is interesting because I think it was actually during the Black Plague. It was the Pope's personal physician, Guy de Chauliac. I don't know. He has a wonderful French name. It starts with Guy. But he was like one of the pioneers in surgery because he was involved in doing work on early cadavers. So yeah, I think that's interesting there when you bring that up because it's not just Christianity either. I wanted to look into this because people will often do the whole thing like Christians caused the Dark Ages. Like I want to do a
historians don't even use that term anymore.
Yeah, because the Dark Ages, it comes from an early Renaissance term trying to disparage the time of Christendom when they would say, no, that's silly. We have Carolingian minuscules, so we have better handwriting to preserve knowledge. You have medieval technology that's created. But what's interesting is that it's not just the Muslim world we see it stagnates in its development. You think about also even like in China or Japan, that it is something really unique to the Christian worldview of wanting to investigate the world and be able to create these kind of advances.
I did a video called How Christianity Created Science. And I went through like a dozen features within Christianity that gave rise to modern science. And I didn't make them up. I just quoted several historians saying, look, listen, I got this from the experts here.
Yeah.
But it's like removing taboos, the belief in being the image of God helped to advance science because if God is reasonable and he made a reasonable world, then we can use our reason. But also Christianity has something called the fall of humanity. So yeah, we have reason, it's good, but it's marred from the fall. Therefore, we have to do repeated experimentations to verify results. Lo and behold, Christianity was crucial for giving rise to the scientific method because of that.
Okay, so we can't just take things at face value. We have to do experiments. We have to prove them in order to satisfy the fact that our intellect is darkened a little bit by sin. So we have to do a bit more to establish these truths about the world.
Yeah, and so the ancient Greek philosophers that did like natural philosophy, like what we would call like proto-science, they looked at like working with your hands as like demeaning work.
Yeah.
So they're not going to build machines. They're not going to do experiments. But Jesus was a carpenter.
Yeah.
Paul was a tent maker. So the Christian natural philosophers, scientists that came later, were fine working with their hands. It took a while for that to really set in, but they started to realize, hey, if Jesus and Paul were doing this, we can work with our hands too. We can build things. We can go out and test things in the dirt.
Yeah.
So it again removed the taboo, I guess, around that whole kind of work kind of thing and made it meaningful work. So again, another way Christianity helped advance science.
Yeah. Are there what other projects like you're working on now? Are there any other like